If you're here, you're probably wondering how you can climb the corporate ladder in digital media. You might be tired of being the guy who makes all of the cool stuff but doesn't get any of the credit. Well, the good news is you don't have to stay invisible for long. The bad news, it's gonna take some work and a little bit of strategery. That's why I'm here. I'm Josh, the founder of Upright Media and the host of Press Refresh, and today I'm gonna give you some pointers on how to climb the ladder in your job based on real life experiences working deep in the creator economy for the last 14 years. From predicting trends to networking like a boss and knowing when it's time to pivot, this guide will show you everything you need to know to fast track your way to the top. Spoiler alert, there's gonna be some stumbling along the way, but that's part of the fun, right? A little bruised ego never hurt nobody. Yeah. Okay, let's get into it. Let's talk about why climbing the corporate ladder in the digital media world is a whole different beast compared to traditional industries. All right, let me paint you a picture. You're at the bottom of this corporate ladder. Maybe you're an intern, a junior social media manager, or a content manager just scheduling posts, and you're looking up at this ladder thinking, man, how am I going to get all the way up there? But what if I told you that instead of just looking up, you could be halfway up that ladder in a year, or maybe even less? Not because you worked 90-hour weeks, but because you worked smarter than everybody else. In this video, I'm gonna break down exactly how to do that. In the old school industries, you climb by just sticking around. You put in the time, you don't make waves, you be a good employee, and eventually you get promoted. But in digital media, time served doesn't necessarily matter. What you need is to be seen, and not just by your boss. This industry moves fast, and it's all about adapting to change. New platforms pop up overnight. Remember Vine, Go90, Quibi, Periscope, Blab, Meerkat, Google+? Yeah, me neither. But those who jumped on TikTok early, they became stars. And I'm not just talking about influencers. Even the behind the scenes talent who understood the platform and the value that it could bring a creator's business shot up the ranks. Let's look at a real world example from a friend of mine. For the sake of privacy, I will call my friend David. And David works at Content Corp. He was a junior social media manager at this mid-sized marketing firm. He'd been there for a year doing solid work, nothing mind-blowing, but reliable work. Then out of nowhere, the Instagram algorithm changes and everyone's engagement tanks. But David, he sees an opportunity. He spends 2 weeks testing different content strategies with reels, stories, carousel posts, you name it. Suddenly, engagement's back up and his bosses are asking him to present at company meetings. Within a year, he's the head of digital strategy and the company's secret weapon that they deploy into their client companies. David didn't just do his job. He paid attention to the shifts happening all around him and he moved fast. That's what this industry rewards: speed, adaptability, and the ability to turn chaos into opportunity. Next up, master the art of self-promotion. If you're gonna climb this ladder, you need to be your own biggest fan. And I'm not talking about being a narcissist, but if you don't advocate for yourself, no one else will. Your work doesn't speak for itself unless you give it a megaphone. There's this weird misconception that if you just do good work, people will naturally notice. But I got news for you, they won't. They're too busy worrying about their own stuff to promote. You need to actively promote your wins. But here's the thing, it's all about timing. Let's go back to David for a second. Right after he cracked the Instagram algorithm, he didn't immediately run to his boss with a PowerPoint presentation. He waited. First, he tested his strategy a few more times to make sure it wasn't a fluke. Then, once he had consistent results, he casually mentioned it to the boss during a one-on-one. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but I've been working on this thing that's really turned our Instagram numbers around. Bam. Now he's got the boss's attention without looking like he's bragging. This is the key. Get the results to back up your good news. Once you've got those wins, share them strategically, whether it's a monthly progress email, a team meeting, or even on LinkedIn. The point is, you need to make sure people know about your contributions. It's not bragging if it's backed by data. This industry is still really small, and there aren't that many people adding extreme value yet. If your boss knows that he or she has an absolute killer amongst the ranks and it's backed by the numbers, that will be huge leverage for your career. Next, build a diverse skill set. In digital media, being a one-trick pony isn't gonna get you very far. This isn't like the old days where you can just specialize in one thing for your whole career. Here, you've gotta be versatile. The more hats you can wear, the higher up the ladder you'll climb. And a lot of employees these days don't like that, but that's just kind of the way it is now. I don't know what to tell you. So you can either try to push back or realize that it's an immovable object. The trick is to stack complementary skills, things that will not just make you better at your job, but will also make you indispensable. If you're in social media, learn various platform analytics. And if you're in content creation, start using data to make highly engaging videos by increasing total watch time. The idea is to make yourself too valuable to be replaced. For example, my friend Amanda is a content strategist at a YouTube company very similar to BuzzFeed. She started as a copywriter, but noticed that all of the people around her getting promoted weren't just good writers, they understood the bigger picture. She started learning about YouTube analytics and how to let them influence her work. And within 2 years, she wasn't just making videos, she was running an entire content vertical at that company. Why? Because she can now track what content worked, why it worked, and how to optimize it for better results. As soon as she shared that with others, her boss gave her a team that she could train and her success multiplied. But don't wait for your boss to ask you to learn these skills. Be proactive. If you've been in your role for 6 months to a year, start picking up these complementary skills on the side. There's tons of free or cheap resources out there. You're on YouTube right now, so start watching tutorials about the things that you want to learn. The more skills that you can add to your toolkit, the more valuable you become. When promotion time comes around, guess who's going to be first in line? You are. That's right. You're ready. You gotta network smarter, not harder. Let's talk about networking. And no, I'm not talking about collecting 1 million LinkedIn connections or schmoozing at every single industry event. That's the hard way. I'm talking about strategic networking, the kind where you build meaningful relationships with the right people. Think of networking like building an army of allies who will vouch for you when the time is right. You don't need 500 people in your corner. You need the right 5. Here's the strategy. Start by identifying the key players in your industry or company. Who's the decision maker for promotions? Who's a mentor that you can get advice from? Who's a rising star that you can team up with and grow together? I have a friend named Greg. Greg is a content producer for a top creator. And instead of attending every random networking event, Greg focused on building relationships within his company and the industry. He regularly reached out to his department head, offered help on projects outside his immediate team or scope of work, and made it a point to connect with other producers in the creator's immediate network. A year later, when a senior video producer role opened up, guess whose name was at the top of the list? My boy Greg. And why? Because he had strategically built relationships with the people who mattered, and he got a big vouch from literally everyone. And it's not just about being a yes person or sucking up. It's about providing value. When you network, think, how can I help this person? How can I offer advice, share insights, or even just lend a hand on a project when it's not asked for? When you do that, people remember you. And when opportunities arise, they'll think of you first. Here's a good rule of thumb. If you've been in your current role for about a year, aim for at least 1 coffee chat or strategic meeting per month. It doesn't have to be formal, just enough to stay on people's radars. In those meetings, go in with intention. What are you trying to learn? Or what are you trying to leave this person with? How do you want them to think about you? It's these conversations that will open the doors when the time comes. Next, stay on top of trends. In digital media, this is the difference between becoming a leader and getting left behind. New platforms, new algorithms, new tools, it's all happening faster than ever. So if you're still beating your head against the wall trying to get your Facebook engagement up in 2024, guess what? You might be a dinosaur. But if you're the person who's already figured out how to turn your YouTube Shorts audience into long-form viewers and are integrating AI tools into your content workflow, you're ahead of the game. Let's talk about my old colleague, Sam, a content strategist. When TikTok was first gaining traction, his company didn't even think it was worth pursuing, but Sam saw the potential. He spent months learning the platform, experimenting with content, and even building relationships with TikTok influencers. By the time the company decided to take it seriously, Sam was already an expert. Now he's leading the company's entire short-form division, and what he learned on TikTok, they quickly adapted to their YouTube strategy when Shorts was announced. The company ended up having one of the fastest growing channels that year. The lesson? Don't wait for someone to tell you which trends are important. Be the person who's out in front of them. Subscribe to newsletters, follow thought leaders, keep an eye on emerging platforms. Make it a daily habit to stay updated. Trust me, this is one that can set you apart in a huge way. Now, let's talk about the real meat of the job, of any job. It's delivering results. Because at the end of the day, you can be the most likable, skilled, and well-networked person in the world, but if you're not delivering results, none of that other stuff matters. This industry is driven by numbers. Going above and beyond doesn't always mean working overtime or taking on other projects. It means thinking strategically, looking at the bigger picture and asking yourself how you can make a measurable impact. Then, when you achieve those results, don't be shy about sharing them. The key is to solve problems that others didn't even know existed. Find inefficiencies, propose solutions, and then crush it. And when you do that, people will notice. Let's talk about one of the hardest but most important moves you'll have to make in your career: knowing when it's time to pivot. Sometimes, despite doing everything right, building skills, networking, delivering results, you'll hit a ceiling. And when that happens, it might be time to make a bigger move. This happened to me. When Defy Media collapsed in 2018, everyone lost their jobs, and I had to pivot. From that day on, I knew that I had to take full advantage of every new opportunity I was given. I had worked my ass off to provide extreme value, and I wanted to make big waves. I was able to help grow some of the biggest channels, the coolest brands, and make some of the most popular videos on YouTube every step of the way. I went from executive producer to chief operating officer in 4 years. I scaled teams upwards of 100 people. I produced some of the most insane content on the entire internet. I helped sell 2 companies, and I started my own business that already is making an impact because I saw a gap in the market that needed to be filled. If you work your ass off, lead with integrity, and provide endless value, you can climb the ladder as high as you want. There are truly no limits, and this industry is just getting started. Climbing the corporate ladder in digital media isn't just about hard work. It's about smart work. You've got to promote yourself, build a diverse skill set, network strategically, and stay on top of trends, and most importantly, deliver results. And sometimes, you've got to know when it's time to pivot and find a new ladder altogether. What's your next move? Is it building a new skill, networking with a key player, delivering results that blow expectations out of the water? Whatever it is, drop it in the comments and let's start climbing together. And hey, if you found any of this useful, do me a favor. Hit that like button and share this video with someone else who's ready to climb the ladder as well. And don't forget to subscribe. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss what's coming next.